So it's an exciting day. They're gonna be putting on the floors pretty soon. Before they put on the floors, I wanna just point some stuff out. I've had a lot of trailers in the past, and there's been a pretty common, this happens quite frequently, more than you would realize, where water tanks fall out of your trailer. You overfill them, they expand, and the straps that hold them in snap and they fall out on the ground. I've seen this too many times on our trailers over the years. If you look at this water tank right here, I believe that there is no way this will ever fall on the ground. If you look down into here, it's hard to see. Before we put the floor on, I wanted to show this, but you look at these huge bolts. These look like almost 1/4-inch bolts, and you can see there. Now, before they drop the tanks, a lot of manufacturers I've seen where they put the tank in and they just put like an L bracket, right? And they just set it and it's sitting on this little L bracket. What happens is when you put water and it expands, it kind of bows down and it can slip out of those L brackets and fall on the ground, right? Or I've seen where they have straps and no brackets on the corners, and those straps just break and they fall on the ground, right? But look, I'm gonna lift this tank up really quick so you can see this, because this is so incredible what they're doing here. So see these brackets? These L brackets are so unbelievably thick, and they've bolted all along here to hold those brackets in. And this tank, it's shaped like an L, so it sits on the brackets right here. And then below it, they have a piece of sheet metal. It's pretty thick. I don't know the diameter exactly. I should probably get that, but it's thicker than a credit card steel, pure steel. And that's self-tapped all the way around the entire trailer. It's unbelievable how they're holding these tanks in. It's unbelievable. I've never seen tanks held in with such thick metal L brackets and then a full sheet. It's like a skid plate, but it also is going to serve as a dual purpose to hold the tank up. I don't believe there's any way these tanks could ever fall out. It's if you look underneath the frame, which is hard to see, but you can see how they self-tap every maybe 8 inches or so, they self-tap that plate. And then also with those L brackets, it's unbelievable. It's crazy the amount of, I just saw a second ago, oh look down here. See this right here? This packing stuff right here, that's just a strap. This is plastic. I've seen other RV manufacturers use that, but it's the metal kind. You know, those straps that hold like 2x4s together? I've seen them holding up tanks with just that, like little sheet metal, and opposed to like this actual thick, 1/8 or 1/4-inch steel, right? Holding these things in. It's unbelievable. It's really nice. It's really cool. Very impressed. Okay, look at this metal. This right here is the wheel well. And this is a fully powder coated steel wheel well. When you have a blowout on a trailer, I think the most common thing is your entire wheel well gets shredded to pieces, right? When that tire hits up and the rubber hits into your thing, usually it's plywood, right? So it just shreds up the plywood. All of this stuff right here along is typically like a very thin sheet of aluminum, I'm talking like soda pop can thin almost, like very, very thin. This is so robust and so thick. If I pull out like a credit card and put it up against this, you can see there's probably it's like the thick of 2 credit cards or more on this steel. It's really, and when you hit this, it's really robust. If you have a blowout, there's no damage that's happening to this wheel well. That's like a blowout in most trailers is not just the cost of a tire, it's the cost of the tire plus usually a couple $1,000s in repair damage on the entire wheel well, the floor. I actually was driving a motorhome back from Florida years ago, and this motorhome, I had a blowout and they had electrical running along the wheel well. And when I had that blowout, it shredded up the electrical, and half of the outlets in the motorhome in the front were not even working. Like, it was a nightmare, like trying to trace the wires. So nothing in this wheel well, but still incredible. Makes this again, the hub.
Rockwell, which is a division of Dexter.
I'm guessing Dexter bought Rockwell or something.
I believe so, a number of years ago, so Rockwell American.
Yeah, Rockwell American, and they're out of Texas.
Correct.
So this is what's great, is because when you're buying things made in America, it's easy to source.
It's easier to source and communicate.
Yeah, communicate and source is huge when you're buying in the States.
Yes, for
or,
sure.
or even Canada. I know
For sure.
Go
Powers and a Canadian company.
But they're really good. You said they were one of your favorites.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I do like working with them a lot.
So now this floor, what exactly is this called again?
So it's a composite floor. So we just reference it as a composite floor. It's made out of 100% synthetic materials. And essentially what it is it's a fiberglass skin on the top and bottom. And in the middle is a PET core. It's a high strength structural foam.
Yeah.
And it's not glued together, it's extruded through a specialized machine, so it can never delaminate. 100% waterproof, 100% mold and mildew proof, and extremely strong, and it has excellent R value properties.
Now, from what I understand, there's one company in the world
that makes this exact product. Correct.
One machine, one company, so it's very proprietary to them. Like
Correct.
Nobody else in the world is making
Correct.
this product, which is pretty cool.
The most appealing aspect of it for us and for our application is a seamless one piece.
Yeah.
And so this can be produced at any length, in any width, any thickness.
Yeah. Yeah. And bar none, like it's one of the best insulation properties, right? For what it is.
Exactly.
This, at least they claim this thickness is like an R13 or something.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
Which is unbelievable for an inch and a half.
Yes. And again, there's no stud bays. It's all on top of the framing. So we bond it to the chassis, to the steel framing, and it's a complete. So we got no thermal bridging from the framing transferring through into the trailer. So So no frost lines or anything like that ever inside the trailer. It's real solid. You'll feel that walking around. And it's lightweight.
Yeah, we put 2,000. It's light.
Yes.
And it's strong.
And it's strong.
So we put a 2,000-pound hot tub on the roof.
Yes, which is made out of the same material, just a little thinner.
Yeah, it's thinner. The stuff so the actual floor itself is going to be stronger.
Correct.
So now, what's cool about the walls? You were talking about, most companies, a lot of companies, they'll put the walls on the floor.
Correct.
And it looks like you've offset.
So yeah, we've held the floor back from the edge of the frame. In our wall section, the bottom plate's like an L shape.
Yeah.
So that the wall itself will sit directly on the chassis, not on top of the floor.
Okay.
And so that way we can secure it directly to the chassis and not have to worry about compression or anything like that on the floor.
Okay.
Being that it's composite, unlike wood, a traditional camper, a lot of them, their walls are sitting on top of a wood floor. If you were to get wood rot, things like that, that's your first line of support on your walls, which hold the roof. And so it's very important for us to bolt it directly to the chassis. And the floor just sets inside of the wall.
Yeah. Something that just blows my mind, I was thinking about as I was falling asleep last night, was I hadn't really thought about how almost every trailer is cantilevered. Correct. And hangs over, and this proximity frame, it makes so much sense for putting walls and roof right on the frame.
Yep. Everything's directly on the frame, the full perimeter of the trailer. Even with our wheel wells being built with a heavy gauge steel, even that area helps support the walls.
Yeah.
So the entire perimeter of the trailer is directly supported on the main structural beams of the chassis. And they're directly connected to them.
I'm thinking as my dad as a home builder, it's like him building a foundation instead of putting the walls on top of the foundation.
Right.
Creating like a bay window around the whole house and building the whole walls and the roof extended out away from the foundation. Yep. It just seems crazy.
So the vast majority of trailers are built, like you say, with the cantilever. Their walls are not setting directly on the chassis. The chassis is narrow chassis, just in the middle of the trailer.
And then they don't even lag bolt, threaded bolt like you.
Not always. They might screw them in from the bottom. There's so many different methods. This here is bolted down to the chassis. I guess I haven't counted exactly how many, but every stud bay throughout the entire trailer.
Every stud is
definitely
about
overkill.
16 inches on center.
Yep, exactly.
It's really incredible. I'm really amazed. This material that's made by that company, they told you you're the only RV?
The only RV trailer that's utilizing this in a trailer floor.
Yeah.
It's primarily used in the marine industry, some of the trucking industry for refrigerated van trailers and such. But it was originally created for the light rail train systems about 20 years ago, and continued to be used today for that application because of its lightweight, because of its strength and wear resistance, and it'll last as long as a train. And trains last forever.
Yeah.
So that was what the product was created for. And so we're kind of adopted that same concept, tweaked it to our liking with the thicknesses and density of the core material, and here we have.
And it's incredible, is because I'm guessing if the train orders it, they order it in like 100-sheet runs that go.
They can get them. That was the best part. The tooling that creates this panels can be at any length.
Yeah.
So
you're not putting.
So they can run a 1,000-foot long sheet if they could figure out a way how to transport that. But it can go forever.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And that's unheard of. So any other trailers that do a composite floor system, chances are it's a 4x8 sheet, and there's seams, and wherever there's a seam, there might be framing, and it's thermal transfer, and there's downsides there.
Well, and if they're putting it on light rails, you imagine there's thousands of people, even daily in some of these, walking, treading down this, and so it has to be very strong and rigid. And I mean, that's our experience. The little experience that we've had, it doesn't feel. You don't feel it bowing.
No, it doesn't.
You get in a
no
lot
deflection.
Of trailers and you feel.
Yep, there's zero deflection. The other area that it's used is in the marine industry, pontoon floors, things like that. So it's moisture and water and resistance is second to none. And so when that's your only line of defense in a boat, it's a testament to how, in this application, the elements that these trailers will be exposed to are. The floor is never going to be the issue. Yeah,
that makes sense. So were you dragging it through rivers, through snow, puddles, splashing up? It's not going to destroy, rot, or anything like that. That's incredible. And this sheet, this big, if you were to compare it to, the cost of wood versus this?
It's significantly higher, but we get more than just a big piece of something to replace wood. We get insulation, we get a moisture barrier, we get vapor barrier, we get all of these things packaged into one product. And so, makes sense. But as a whole, it's significantly higher cost, but the pros that outweigh the costs are the lifespan. It's going to last forever, the moisture resistance, the thermal properties, and the strength. And it's a foundation of your house. It starts right here.
Yeah, exactly. And you pay more, but you get more.
You get a lot more.
That's the reason why you...
Floor rot is one of the most detrimental things that can happen in any camper. It's one of the hardest things to repair. You'll never experience it. It's 100% synthetic. It won't rot. It can't rot.
It can't rot. Well, and it makes, especially when the way so many RVs are building their trailers, you rot the floor. It's hard to ever replace it because the way it's constructed.
Can never do it correctly and can never do it right.
Yeah, for sure. So, this is incredible.
Well, they're getting some walls up.
Getting some walls up, that's cool.
Yeah, so that's already got the panel and the interior panel, the insulation, the vapor barrier, all in one.
So what is this exactly?
So it's like a rosin type craft paper, builder's paper, rosin paper.
this is what I think is so incredible is, I don't know, explain what's going on here.
We got our aluminum framing, and then on the interior side of the wall, as you can see, we've got our high density 1/2-inch foam, and then our panel, all bonded to one. So this is all created as one sheet, and on the back side here you can see is the vapor barrier. And so that's all sandwiched together, bonded to the aluminum framing, and that's how we stop. You can see clearly here, if you got cold or heat coming from the outside, it can't transfer into the interior of the coach simply with this insulation barrier.
Yeah.
That's our thermal break. That's what's breaking the cold or hot transfer through the stud cavity.
And now I have actually torn trailers apart because
Yep.
I've sold used trailers forever. And if you peel back the panel, this little thin piece of panel is usually attached right to
Directly
the
to the stud. That's what 99% of all trailer manufacturers do.
Do.
It's cheaper, it's faster, it's lighter, easier. They bond it directly to the stud.
Typically what you're gonna see is a piece of panel, a stud, and then that, what is that? That thin, almost like credit card thin fiberglass.
Exactly, on the
Lamination.
exterior, yes.
And it's like nothing, there's nothing there.
So as you can see here, we bond the wall with adhesive, and then we go back through, and they'll start bolting it down as well.
Okay,
So the adhesive's there for just as an additional
and
measure a level of securement.
yeah, and that adhesive is not
That
cheap.
adhesive is extremely strong, designed specifically for this,
For
bonding
aluminum, too.
aluminum this to, in this situation, steel.
Yeah, and then they go through and
Then we go through,
and you can see
and
that they're
then
putting
we'll
bolts.
put the bolts in
Yeah.
to secure the walls to the chassis in addition. But that's one of the secrets to our insulating properties is this
Yeah.
thermal break layer. And then we'll come back, we'll fill in between each stud cavity with more high density foam.
And what kind
And-
of foam is that again?
So we've got 3-pound density foam here and a 2-pound density in the cavity. And then we'll bond on the fiberglass
Yeah.
on the outside.
I'm really excited to see the fiberglass go up.
Yes.
That seems to be really,
Yes.
really nice stuff. So.
And like you pointed out, the standard that you'll see in most all trailers that have a fiberglass type siding is they'll put that thin FRP directly to the stud, inside and out. And so there's
Literally nothing.
You know, it no matter what you have for insulation between the stud cavities, almost becomes non-existent because you got so much thermal transfer through each stud.
You know, I just recently saw a YouTube video where it said, don't buy an aluminum trailer, and they had a picture of it, and it's because they had water condensations coming right
Yes.
through the trailer.
Yep.
Which is crazy.
And there are. So Winnebago has, on some of their trailers, has a similar concept, but their thermal break is on the outside where it's not nearly as effective.
Interesting.
And they do that for the sole purpose they're using the thinnest glass they could possibly use.
Yeah.
And to keep it from being so wavy, they bond it right to the
Oh, the little
foam.
Okay, the foam.
And that's why Winnebago's been notorious over the years with horrible delamination problems.
Okay.
So they're trying to achieve the same thing,
Yeah.
but the way they're doing it is not for thermal properties. They're doing it for trying to get it use inferior
doesn't wave.
materials and make it look like it's a
Right? They're like, oh, we can use the thinnest plastic
Yeah.
fiberglass, but oh no, if you do that, you're gonna have like
the pillowing they call it.
hills, yeah, hills and valleys.
So then they try to find other inexpensive methods to mitigate that. The more challenging way to do it is this way,
Yeah.
but it's better. It takes longer, it costs more, but it's
Yeah.
better.
Well, and you use a very thick fiberglass,
Thick fiberglass,
and it's not gonna bow like that.
correct.
I mean, like that's what you see over here. Like it's just like you don't see. And no, that thing is as straight
Yeah.
as
Straight as it can be.
yeah. They really look so good. You must be proud of that, right?
Yeah, well, that's what we were after.
Yeah.
Wanted it to look nice.
I just like.
And I hope people notice it. I hope it stands out. Not just the looks, but does it shine? Does it
Yeah.
stand out
Yeah.
in quality, not just
They do.
the design? So
They do. Quite frankly, like, I didn't appreciate it as much as I do now.
until you know more
From the
about
last
it.
couple days, right?
Sure. Because you're like, oh, it looks smooth, it looks nice, good deal. But
Nice.
once you kind of know a little more about it, it's like, oh, that is
It's
something a little unique.
yeah, it's you don't appreciate it until you have a kind of a knowledge
Right.
behind like why. That's exactly what I would say. It's like I don't feel like he's just doing things like for the heck of it. I feel like he's like, no, I want something that's really good and quality.
Well, there's faster, easier ways to do everything.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, man, why'd we choose the hardest way to do everything? But,
Make it easier, but
yeah.
quality, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We get the roof attached first, so that way we can push, pull, tweak wheel if we need to square everything up, and then we'll come back and secure that all together. So this part goes quick. It's like framing a house. Like, holy cow, they built a house in a day.